Hey guys, it's Holly. Welcome back to my channel. It's kind of dark outside right now. It's nighttime and I'm out in my vehicle because it was really the only quiet place where I could come for a few minutes just to briefly do a little video. So without further ado, since I have explained why it's hard to see me and it's dark, I have my lights on inside the car, so hopefully you can kind of see me a little bit. But anyways, so I want to talk about social media today, social media detox, and how it's really important for us to periodically, cut back and or completely detox ourselves from social media. So we live in a day and age where social media is almost like it's just a constant everyday thing, and all day, every day, just time and time again, over and over. And so I have found it's different for everybody, but most people, I don't know why, but most people have an obsession with Instagram. The two that I see that are the most problematic are Instagram and Facebook. Facebook, a lot of people are really addicted to that as well, but these days I really think Instagram is probably the main culprit of really honestly causing problems with people comparing themselves to each other and just things of that nature. So it depends on the social media platform that you're on. I think, in my personal opinion, Instagram is definitely probably my least favorite. I think Twitter is not very popular anymore, but Twitter and Tumblr, I don't know if any of you guys use Tumblr, but Twitter and Tumblr, I feel like, are a couple of lower scale options that are a little bit less stressful, a little bit, less time consuming and just less frustrating. And so, honestly, on a regular basis, I use pretty much every social media there is. So I have Pinterest, Tumblr, Twitter. I do use TikTok, and I think that TikTok can be beneficial to an extent. I feel like TikTok is more of a realistic platform and a lot more of people just being genuine and being themselves, and I don't feel like people are necessarily really trying to show off and flaunt themselves. I feel like TikTok is really a more, very self-expression type of platform, and so I do like it. But the issue with TikTok, as if any of you guys use that, which a lot of you probably do, it's very time consuming if you get started watching your videos on your FYP for your page or whatever. It can get very addicting and time consuming. So for me, in my opinion, that's the only issue I really have with TikTok. And then with Pinterest, I think Pinterest can kind of be similar to Instagram to an extent, but I feel like Pinterest is more of an easier, lesser level of intimidation. So I feel like Pinterest is another one that I would probably put in the category of like Tumblr or Twitter, something that's going to be a little bit more, I guess, laid back, shall I say. Now, my issue with Instagram, like I mentioned before, is just simply too much comparison. Now, there are other social media outlets as well, and different platforms for different types of people. So I don't really use anything else except what I've mentioned, and then I also use Facebook. So what I've noticed about Facebook is I do appreciate using it because it really helps me to stay in touch with my family and friends and keep up with their lives. And, to meet new people, and also for marketing purposes, to help market my businesses and to help get me business. And that really helps me so much. And I think that's really the hardest thing for me to pull back from social media is because of that. So, but I feel like you need to find an even balance, and there's a good way to kind of like balance that out and be like, hey, I'm going to be on social media for a couple of weeks and then I'm going to take a week off, or I'm going to be on for a week and then I'm going to take a week off, And so about 3 days ago, I just got a wild hair and I was like, I am so sick of all this social media. So what I ended up doing was I basically deactivated my Facebook account without an option to reactivate it anytime soon. So it's not reactivated until I physically reactivate it. And then I took all of my social media apps, every last one of them, and uninstalled them from my phone. I didn't deactivate any other accounts, just uninstalled them. And so the only thing that I'm still on right now is YouTube. I'm still doing my daily YouTube videos. And then I'm still on my Patreon page, which is where I post daily to my Patreon page for my patrons. So it's helped me a lot because I feel like, I can still promote my businesses through those two platforms, obviously, and I can still communicate with people through there, but it's not nearly as extensive. So like with Instagram, it's like I'm always getting these random messages from people I don't know trying to sell me stuff, random, just left and right. And Facebook is a really big issue for me because I get about 75 to 100 friend requests per day. And I'm working really hard to try and get to my 5,000 friends. I think I'm close to 4,000 right now. So once I get to 5,000, it stops and people can't send me any friend requests anymore. But naturally, I don't have the time and the energy to go through all of these friend requests every day. I don't have the time. And I screen through them. I don't just want to add them all because, that's not safe. That's not a good idea. So you always want to screen your requests. So it's very time consuming. And then I also get about 150 notifications per day as well on Facebook. And those are hard to keep up with. I can't keep up with all of those. And there's so many different groups. And it didn't used to be that way, but it keeps getting worse and worse with every passing year with Facebook. And so it's gotten to a point where it's like, people are posting in this group. And it's like suddenly, all of a sudden, I'm in like 100 different groups or 150 different groups. And I'm like, there's no way I can keep up with all of that. So I really just got overwhelmed, honestly, with social media. So I was like, screw it. I'm just not even going to get on it. I even uninstalled my Facebook Messenger because, I'm always getting messages on there from people I don't know saying like, hey, what's up? How's it going? And it's like, it's not like I don't want to talk to people, but, I am a mother. I'm a single mother. I have businesses to take care of. I have a family to take care of. I'm always busy. And it's just all these random people just, messaging me, asking me all these random questions, trying to sell me things. And it gets to a point where it's like, you just don't have the time or the energy to want to cope with it. So yeah, I just haven't been on. And I think I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do things yet. But I think what I'm going to do is maybe just like continue to take off for at least probably another week, and maybe 2 or 3 or maybe even a month. I don't know. Initially, I'm going to take, I think, a longer time than I normally would because it's been so long since I have done a social media detox. But I think what I want to do is maybe get to a point where I'm just doing like 1 week on to 1 week off, or maybe like 1 week on and 2 weeks off or something like that. But I don't want to be on social media more than half the time, is what I'm thinking. And so that will still allow me to keep in touch with everybody, see what's going on in people's lives, and still promote my businesses and whatnot while finding a much better balance. And so not only is there a lot of comparison that goes on with social media, but there's a lot of the political polarization primarily. There's just this day and age that we're living in. It's just everything is so crazy and people are so hostile. And I don't like that either. I don't like seeing that. I'm a very peaceful person and I just wish for peace. But a lot of people don't want that. So it's hard to see that. And so that's very disheartening as well. Another thing is you have to consider when you're on social media, you're constantly seeing ads. And that can lead to more excessive spending out of your pocket. If you see something, you're like, oh, I gotta have that. So that's another thing to consider too. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I feel like it's really healthy because the last few days I've been off of these platforms, I feel so much better. My mental health, I can think clear. I don't have nearly as much brain fog. I don't have these things taking up my time. And I don't think we realize how much time it takes just to scroll through Facebook a few minutes every day or several times a day. I don't think we really, realize how much time and energy it takes from us. So I'm really excited about this and I'm going to keep doing it. I frequently used to do social media detoxes a lot more frequently, but over the past year or two, I have slowed down quite a bit. And I can't even remember the last time I've done a social media detox. So usually for me, it would just be Facebook. Primarily, I would just shut down Facebook and the Facebook Messenger and, keep it off for anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks, with about a week being the average. And I would do that at least every few months. And it really helped a lot. And so somewhere along the way, I got out of the habit of doing that. So now I'm back to the habit of doing that. And I strongly recommend, when considering a social media detox, if you feel like you just can't do it and you're too addicted and you feel like you can't, commit to that kind of a challenge, what you can do is challenge yourself to even just a day, just one day, or even 8 hours, or a portion of your day without looking at it, and then just kind of build up from there and go from there. And if you have a particular platform that you really, really like, that you just really don't want to part with, then try parting with the others temporarily. So let's say, for example, you really, really like TikTok. So maybe you could stay on TikTok and just get off Facebook for a little while. Get off the other stuff, Twitter. Honestly, I'm old school, so I don't even know what is all the other stuff that people use these days. So when I first started using social media, I was about, I don't even remember, 16 years old maybe, and we had MySpace. And so MySpace was really like our thing for the first few years, and then suddenly we had Facebook, and Facebook took over, and that's what we had. And then, all these other apps came out and all these other platforms slowly over time. So MySpace was really all we had. I think I had MySpace, and I had this thing called Experience Project. I don't even know if Experience Project is still around. I think it is. But those were my two social media platforms, and this was before we even had, on our phones, like internet and stuff. This was when I was literally sitting on my desktop computer, every day I would check like once or twice a day, and that was it. I wasn't constantly looking into this on my phone, scrolling through. And I think, we really need to revert sometimes back in time to a point where we don't constantly have that stimulation of social media, because it can be a really, really good thing, but too much of it can be a very, very bad thing. And so I really started to kind of see my mental health suffer ultimately from too much social media usage, because the main thing is I was just simply getting overwhelmed with too many messages, too many friend requests, too many this and that, too many people trying to talk to me, too much political polarization as I'm scrolling through, too much everything. And so I'm feeling really good about steering clear. Another thing that you can consider, if you're worried about your social media detox, you can cut out one app at a time. And maybe you could just pick one that you don't necessarily spend a whole lot of time with, but maybe you could just pick one. So like, for example, for me, I still do my YouTube and my Patreon, but whenever I start adding back my apps, I will probably start with the ones I spend the least amount of time on, that are gonna be, so I'm kind of gonna gradually go up. So I'm gonna start by probably re-downloading Tumblr, and then maybe the next day I might add in Pinterest, and then maybe the next day I might add Twitter, and then the next day, I might feel brave enough to add Instagram. I don't know. But I do think the very last thing I will be adding back is Facebook. And the reason for that is because I feel like that is the one that's given me the most problems. And I love it, don't get me wrong, like I said before, but we really need to consider how much of our time it's taking up. Is it really worth it? And what can we be doing with that time and energy if we weren't on social media? So that's just my opinion for what it's worth. But again, just wanted to take a minute to talk about this, because I feel like it's not something that does get talked about a lot. And so obviously I'm not on a full-on social media detox, because if I were, I wouldn't be on YouTube right now. I wouldn't be uploading these videos, and I wouldn't even be posting to Patreon. But the good thing is I don't really interact a whole lot with either of these two platforms. So I interact with people more directly. And so like on my YouTube, for example, I don't have, I turn my comments off. So I don't constantly have to worry about responding to comments or looking at comments or reading, anything of that nature. So I'm still basically just being me, doing my thing, not having to worry about all of the social media stress. So anyways, I hope this helps, and hopefully if you've never done a detox before, you will consider doing social media detox, or at least even partially. even just starting by eliminating one app at a time, you know, and just going from there, seeing, you know, experimenting with things, seeing how far you can get. And if it's something you're truly not comfortable with and you literally don't want to do it, then don't do it. I mean, if you literally, you know, absolutely love social media and want no part of being away from it for a second, then good for you. That's great. But if you're like a lot of us that need a break from the constant stimulation of that, then I highly recommend experimenting and seeing what you can do, because it will help you improve your mental health, free up some of your time and energy. And time and energy are things that we can't get back. They're so important, and I think it's highly underestimated how important our time is, as well as our energy. So whatever you put it into, you know, that's what you're gonna get back. So just bearing these things in mind, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.